Now, the outgoing Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has called for more funding to build new nuclear power stations in the UK. During a speech yesterday, he gave his support to the Sizewell C nuclear power plant in Suffolk, promising £700 million of government funding. He called for an end to short-termism, but with the nuclear plant taking years to come online, how would a move to nuclear energy help deal with the current crisis? Joining me now is co-founder and chairman of E3G, former senior advisor to the Foreign Secretary's special representative on climate change, Tom Burke. Hello, Mr. Burke. Thank you so much for joining us. So what was it he said yesterday? Go nuclear, go large, go Sizewell.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've lost you.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. You disappeared.
I'm still here. Yeah, so what did you think?
Okay.
Go nuclear, go large, go Sizewell.
It was a very strange announcement. I mean, first of all, it was a re-announcement of money that had already been committed to helping EDF get ready to go nuclear. It wasn't actually giving the go-ahead. We're quite a long way away from giving the go-ahead for Sizewell. Secondly, it has nothing to do with our current emergency energy policy urgency, which is the current energy crisis. It takes 15 years, if you're lucky, to build a nuclear power station. So I don't know why he thought that was relevant to the immediate problem. And then, so it's a bit of jam tomorrow, I guess. And then, thirdly, why would you come up with an idea for improving Britain's energy supply? That means you put bills up instead of driving them down. And that's actually what building more nuclear power will do.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So just explain the practicalities of why building a nuclear power plant actually puts bills up in the short time. Because he did say it's expensive to put up, but in the long run, it's cheap or cheaper.
Well, you can currently buy electricity from offshore wind at about £37 a megawatt hour. In about 15 years, if we went ahead with Sizewell, you'd be buying electricity from Sizewell at somewhere around £120 a megawatt hour. So it's completely impossible to see how that's a good deal for consumers. And not only that, but you'd be asking consumers, first of all, to start paying now for a building, Sizewell C, way before it's generating any electricity. And then when it is generating electricity, you'll be asking people to pay more for that electricity than they would otherwise be able to get it to from renewables. So a really bad deal for consumers. Well,
it didn't sound like it, did it? It was a very, very positive speech coming from Boris Johnson. I'm surprised that you're calling it strange. I very much doubt he would say it was strange, his announcement. Sizewell, so it's not a done deal, Sizewell, because the way he was talking about it, £700 million is a done deal. In a couple of years, we're going to get power from that plant to power millions. Is it 6 million homes?
Well, we're not going to get it in a couple of years. We're going to get it, if we're lucky, as I say, in 15 years. And, you know, the Prime Minister is very well known for being a jovial, optimistic chap, but he's also got a track record of proposing schemes that are really pie in the sky, building a London airport in the Thames, bridges across to Northern Ireland. You know, this is just another one of these pie in the sky schemes that he's dreaming about, but he's not actually doing any analysis on.
Okay. What did you think about his look back, shall we say, at what he says is the myopia, the short-termism of the energy policy? And he specifically targeted Labour and the Lib Dems. Do you think he was correct in what he was saying about that?
I'm afraid the history books say he wasn't correct. Mrs. Thatcher, you know, remember, promised us 10 nuclear power stations and she got 1. Tony Blair did exactly the same, promised us 10 nuclear power stations and he got 1. This government has been in power for 12 years and still hasn't got 1. So I don't think he was in any position to be critical of other governments.
Let's take the context out of it, the war in Ukraine, the current energy prices. Is nuclear power the way to go? Should we be looking, in the long run, to nuclear power?
No, it's the most expensive way we've got at the moment to generate electricity. We know we can generate all the electricity we need from renewables. especially if we do what we need to do to get bills down, which is to drive forward on energy efficiency. We know that we can take care of those days when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow by increasing storage. In particular, we currently turn off wind at night when we don't need it and pay people to turn their electricity off. What we could be doing with that electricity is using it to make green hydrogen, storing the green hydrogen so that we have it available to run in existing gas plants on those days, rare days, when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine.
Okay, and just finally, obviously the context is so important. In the short term, what do you think the solution is to this current crisis that we find ourselves in?
Well, I think it's really quite interesting that we've now seen businesses not only asking the government to do more, but coming up with their own ideas of what needs to be done. Steve Fitzpatrick from OVO was doing that just yesterday. I think, in a way, business is beginning to give up on the government coming up with policy ideas. There are a number of those ideas to deal with the payment crisis. So in the short term, one or other of those ideas has got to be picked up. The medium to longer term, i.e. out beyond this winter, then we really do need to invest properly in energy efficiency, in making it possible for people to use less energy while still staying as warm as they need to stay. And we know how to do that. And indeed, up until the Cameron government, we were insulating 2.5 million homes a year. Then we got rid of the green crap, and we're now insulating about 30,000 a year. And that means an awful lot of people are paying about £220 a year more for their electricity than they otherwise would be.
Okay. Tom Burke, thank you so much.
Pleasure.